So before we begin, this is sort of more for intermediate Japanese level learners. The beginning concepts and grammar rules and such I'm probably going to breeze through quickly so that we can get to the more intermediate and advanced level stuff. So if you're more the beginning level, I have some beginning level Japanese videos as well in the video description. Let's get started.
あたしはすべてを包むもの。そしてすべての愛から生まれた戦士。エターナル。
So we have a little dream sequence, and right off the bat, this first line is pretty poetic and kind of hard to translate. So, あたしはすべてを包むもの. Mono in this case means person, not thing. If you look at the kanji for it, it is different from the kanji for thing. Tsutsumu is a verb that means it's a kind of complicated meaning. It really means like to wrap things up with a blanket. But if I say, and then subete is all, atashi is I, so it's like, I am the one, I am the person who wraps everything up. That sounds weird. It makes it sound like she's a gift wrapper. If you say, I am the one who bundles everything up, it's like, oh, I bundle things up into a package that I can sell. That's what I think of when I hear bundle. It doesn't really sound right either. I thought maybe swaddle, like you're wrapping a baby in a blanket. That sounds kind of weird too. So I used hold, like you're holding things together. I even thought of binding. I am the one who binds everything together. That kind of works, but that's not quite the meaning that she has here. It's more like I am all embracing. I could have translated that as I am all embracing. Again, this is a pretty open-ended phrase. A lot of those phrases would work. I went with I am she who holds the universe together. I went I am she who, just because it sounds more poetic, and this is rather poetic speech pattern. And then instead of all things, I just said the universe because it just sounded better. And it's a little more like, you know, she's out there in the universe with the moon and everything, and it just, the visuals work well that way. So I am she who holds all things together would work and would be a little more literal. I am she who holds the universe together. I am she who embraces the universe. I am she who embraces all things. I am she who embraces all things almost sounds a little more like, oh, I'm a free spirit. I embrace all lifestyles. So yeah, it's kind of hard to translate this without it sounding like things that it doesn't actually mean. So I went with I am she who holds the universe together. Maybe in post I'll get a better idea and put it up on the screen. Next line. そして and also すべての愛から生まれた戦士. So すべて again, all, every. すべての愛, all the love. から, so from all love. 生まれた, born. 戦士, soldier. So soldier that was born of all the love or from all the love. And I am a soldier born of all love. And then she says, エターナル。
おやおや、今日はzuibunご機嫌だね。何か楽しい夢でも見たのかな?
And then you got baby Hotaru, which is just so cute. And her daddy says, おやおや. So that's, oh my, kind of sound effect. 今日はzuibunご機嫌だね. So 今日は, today. Zuibun is like awfully, very. ご機嫌だね. So ご機嫌 is like a good mood. So if you say ご機嫌だね, it's like, oh yeah, you're in awfully high spirits today. Oh, you seem to be in a good mood today. So you're in awfully high spirits today. 何か something 楽しい夢でも so 楽しい夢 a fun dream でも or something so that's what this でも means. It doesn't mean but, it means or something like. So 何か something like a fun dream or something like that. でも見たのかなso 見たのかな I wonder if you saw. And then you may remember, God, this came up in other episodes of this Watch Sailor Moon Learn Japanese series before, but yume miru, to see a dream, that's just how they say have a dream. We say in English have a dream, they say see a dream. So were you having a fun dream? Or something is kind of the implied in there, but it just looked weird on the screen to say, were you having a fun dream or something? I don't know, it just doesn't sound like his character.
何の夢だい? お父さんには分からないことかな?
何の夢だい? What was your dream about? So 何の, what kind of noun? And in this case, the noun is dream. Yume. Dai. So this whole like ending a sentence with i, like kai or dai, it's kind of a softer, like older people kind of tend to use this, at least the way I've seen it in anime and manga. Like kids generally don't talk like this. And it's very soft. It's kind of like, 何の夢だい? Like, tell me, sweetie, like what kind of dream was it? What was your dream about? お父さんには分からないことかな? So this, he's using Otousan as his first person pronoun. So it's basically me. He is her father, so Otousan. And we do this in English too, like when I talk to my cats all the time. I call myself mommy. お父さんには分からない. So wakaranai, do not understand. Otousan ni wa, so to dad, to me, not understand. So that means, is it something I am incapable of understanding? Koto is the something. So wakaranai koto, a thing that cannot be understood to otousan ni wa. And then kana, again, this maybe, is it? So is it something beyond daddy's understanding? And then Setsuna shows up. Yay, Setsuna.
ホタル、迎えに来ました。
And she says, ホタル、迎えに来ました. That's a very, very common phrase. So 迎えに来る is a phrase that means you've come to pick someone up, to take them somewhere. Usually it means I've come to get you, to take you home. I've considered saying hotaru, I've come to take you home, but that wouldn't really make sense because she's kind of already home with her dad at the moment. And then if she just says hotaru, I've come to take you, it's like, oh, you've come to kidnap her from her dad. Those kind of sounded weird too. I settled on hotaru, I've come for you. Like, it's your time. I have come for you. And it is a little vague here at this point. We don't know why she's come for Hotaru. Like, nothing really has happened yet in this episode, so I left it kind of open-ended and ominous. I've come for you. But Hotaru, like, we can tell it's a good thing because Hotaru is like, ee, Setsuna. All right, and then the title.
悪夢、花を散らすとき、闇の女王復活。
Akumu means nightmare. Hana o chirasu toki. So chirasu is to like ravage, to destroy and scatter places. Hana is flowers, so to scatter, destroy, ravage the flowers. Toki, time, the time to ravage, destroy the flowers. So it's kind of like nightmare, isolated thought. The time to ravage the flowers. That doesn't sound like a very catchy title now, does it? In Japanese, it sounds very catchy, but in English, it does not. So this is where you have to take a little poetic license and kind of arrange the words so that it sounds cooler. So I rearranged that as, when the nightmare ravaged the flowers. That sounds a little more ominous and cool and more like a title. And it keeps the meaning intact. Return of the Dark Queen. That one's a little more straightforward. Yami no Jou fukkatsu. So yami no is of darkness. Jou, which is a really fun word. It's Jou and then O. It's like 3 O sounds, just Jou. But there's an accent. It's like Jou. It's not Jo. So the first time I saw this word, it was actually in Sailor Galaxia's song. I just thought it was the funniest word ever because it's just Jo-wo-wo. But anyway, Jo-wo, queen. Fukkatsu is like return of, has returned, has revived, reborn sometimes. Usually it's more like she's back in action kind of thing. So Return of the Dark Queen.
いい天気。うさぎ、早く。置いてっちゃうわよ。はーい。
And then we cut to the girls being girls, because that's usually how we open every single episode. Usagi says, "Ii tenki." What a nice day. That's Japanese 101. Rei calls Usagi. And then, hayaku, hurry up. Luna says, oite chau wa yo. This is from the verb oku. All right, this is basically an extended version of the verb oku, to leave someone behind, or just, to leave. Oite is the te form of the verb, and then chau is sort of slang for shimau. So oite shimau would be the te shimau version of the verb to leave something or someone behind. So te shimau version of a verb means like this thing is done completely and usually to an unfortunate result. So like, hey Usagi, like, we're going to leave you behind, and that's going to be a bad thing, girl, because it's slangy. So I translated that as, or we'll leave you behind. And then Usagi says, hi, which does not mean yes, it means coming in this case.
なんだよ、浮かれちゃって。だって嬉しいんだもん。
And then Mako-chan says, なんだよ、浮かれちゃって. So なんだよ is like, what is it? Like, whoa, what's up, man? Ukarechatte. So again, we're using this chau version of the verb, which again is slang for te shimau. So ukareru means to be like really giddy and just bouncy, bouncing off the walls, hyper. And then ukarete shimau or ukarete shimatte or ukarechatte is like, oh, you're doing this verb and you're doing it completely and it's kind of a bad thing that you're doing it, sort of. She's sort of making fun of Usagi for being giddy. But in a loving way, because she's Mako-chan, so somebody's in a silly mood. I translated it. Usagi says, datte ureshindamon. So this datte, I have a whole video about datte and Sasuga and how datte is kind of hard to translate in just like a one word-to-word translation of datte. It's like, but come on. Oh, but you know, Mako's saying, haha, somebody's in a silly mood. She's like, oh, but come on. I have to be in a silly mood because ureshii, I'm so happy. So, well, I'm just so happy.
憧れの10番高校の制服が着れるんだわ。さらにまたみんなと一緒なのが何より嬉しい。
憧れの10番高校の制服が着れるんだもん. So again, another damon. This whole damon at the end of your sentence is this very emphatic humph, like so humph or so ha. It's that sort of mood to your sentence if you say damon at the end of your sentence. Akogare no is like the thing that I have been dreaming of, the thing that I have been idolizing, that I have been longing for. Juban koko is Juban High School. No seifuku, so the uniform, the school uniform of Juban High School. Ga kirerun, I am able to. Kiru is just to wear, but kireru is like to be able to wear. I get to wear it. Well, because I finally get to wear the Juban High School uniform that I've been dreaming of wearing. And then I translated that as, I get to wear the Juban uniform of my dreams. And then she follows it up with, sore ni, in addition to that, besides. Mata, again, minna to, so with all of you girls. Issho nano ga, being together, again, with all of you girls. Nani yori ureshii. So this nano ga is also the same as koto, koto ga. I have a video on no and koto as well if you want to look further into that. But it's basically turning mata minna to issho, being together with all of you again. It's turning that into just a consolidated thought. Nani yori ureshii. So nani yori means more than anything else, and then ureshii is happy. So I am happiest of all, more than happy, like what makes me the most happiest of all is the fact that nanoga, or koto, minna to issho, being together with all of you guys. So, but what makes me even happier is that I get to be with you guys again.
本当、ついに私もうさぎちゃんたちと同じ高校に通えるのね。
So Minako follows it up with honto. It's like, whoa, for real, girl. That's kind of what that means. It's slangy. Tsuini means at last, finally. Atashi mo, me too. Usagi-chan tachi to, so Usagi-chan tachi is like Usagi and the other girls. So you guys, basically. To onnaji koko. So onnaji with the extra m in there is just the same as onaji, but it's more slangy. Onnaji koko ni kayoeru no ne. So kayoeru is to attend. Koko ni kayoeru is to attend high school. Onnaji koko ni kayoeru is to attend the same high school as Usagi-chan tachi, as you girls. Finally. So, for real, I finally get to go to the same school as you guys.
みなこ、嬉しい。みなこちゃん、追試一緒に受けようね。赤点仲間ってか。
And then Minako says, Minako, ureshi. This is kind of a very memed scene, this little exchange here we're about to see. So again, like Professor Tomoe was using Otousan as his personal pronoun, which is not uncommon in English, but in English it's a little weird to use your own first name as your personal pronoun. Sarah doesn't go around saying Sarah likes cake and pizza. Sarah says I say I like cake and pizza. I sound like a weirdo if I say, well, I am a weirdo, but you know, not in that way. Not the kind of person who says Sarah. Nah. But in Japanese, it's not that weird. It's cutesy and sing-songy to use your own name as a personal pronoun, but it's not as weird as it is in English. So Minako ureshi. And this is sort of like, it's almost like meme speak before meme speak existed, because this was the late 90s. But it's like if this were conceived like nowadays, it would be almost lolcat mode. It would be like, is happy with the Z in there or whatever. So I kind of put a little bit of that feeling in there, and I kept her name Minako. I said, Minako, happiness overload. Because it does have that really cutesy, like almost robotic, or just like, I'm speaking Japanese wrong because I'm so happy kind of mood to it. And then Usagi says, Minako-chan! And she's being so melodramatic. They're just being so silly and girly together. I translated the chan in this case to dearest. Minako dearest! Because the scene is begging for it. Look at them. They're being really hammy. Minako says, Tsuishi issho ni ukeyou ne. So tsuishi means like a makeup exam that you take if you fail. Issho ni ukeyo, ukeru is to like to take, so tsuishi o ukeru would be like to take the makeup exam. Issho ni would be to take the makeup exam together. And then ne at the end is like, you know, we're going to be taking those makeup exams together. We're both dumb. And that's awesome. So let's take all our makeup exams together. And then Usagi says, akaten nakama te ka. So akaten is, it literally means red score or red points. It's basically slang for like flunk, an F. And then nakama, nakama means nakama, haha, translator's note. Now nakama means a lot of things. It can mean friends, it can mean like you're on a team together, it can mean partners, buddies, comrades, etc. So I was so incredibly tempted. This is where if Sailor Moon were like not a kid's show, and if innuendo like this were a go, I would have translated that as something like, ooh, we're gonna be flunk buddies, because it's so close to something else, and that would be hilarious. And it would be an amazing translation of it too, not even for the innuendo, because like there was not innuendo like that in the original Japanese, although they are being kind of homoerotic. But yeah, like it would have been too close to the F word for a kid's show, so I translated that as, oh, we'll be on Team F together. As in like, you know, team people who fail tests. I was so tempted to do flunk buddies though.
でもさ、辛かったよな、受験勉強。
And then Mako says, でもさ, like, but you know. And the girls say, yeah? Mako says, 辛かったよな. So this よな thing is like, you know, right? Tsurakatta is the past tense of tsurai, which is like painful, like really hard, difficult. Juken benkyo. Juken benkyo, you might remember from last season of Watch Sailor Moon Learn Japanese when they were talking about Juken benkyo, because they were right in the middle of it. Juken benkyo is studying for entrance exams for high school. So this is one of those cases where the sentence is kind of flip-flopped. It would be, Juken benkyo wa tsurakatta yo na. That would be like the way they would actually construct the sentence. As for the studies for the exam, it sure was hard. And that's kind of how we do it in English as well. We'd say, studying for the exams sure was hard. But they switched the sentence order here for different emphasis. So I translated this a little more loosely, still the same meaning, but I just reworded it as, we sure went through hell getting into this high school. And the kind of way I translated Juken Benkyo, like studying for entrance exams, as getting into high school is because like we don't really have that concept in the West of like taking entrance exams to get into high schools. So like just making it a little more like understandable for us, like getting into this high school. You have to take the entrance exams to get into the high school, so it's not technically a mistranslation. It just cleans it up a little bit and it's easier to comprehend.
その苦しみからやっと解放されたんだから、これからは楽しまなきゃね。
And then Rei says, その苦しみからやっと解放されたんだから. And then she's going to follow it up with something else. So, sono, that thing of yours that you were talking about. Kurushimi, the suffering, the pain. Kara, so from that pain of yours. Yatto, finally. Kaiho suru is to release someone. Kaiho sareru is passive voice, so be released from. From what? Sono kurushimi, that pain, that suffering. And then she ended it with dakara, so that is like des, which is sort of that explaining particle. And then dakara is also because, it's also explaining. So she's explaining a lot in this sentence. Well, you're finally free from the hell of studying now. だから、therefore, これからは from now on, 楽しまなきゃね. So 楽しむ is to have fun. 楽しまなきゃ is the I must do version of that verb. So 楽しむ is just have fun. 楽しまなきゃ is I must have fun, or you must have fun, we must have fun. これから from now on. So let's move on and have some fun.
でも、レイちゃんの高校って確か付属で。そうよ、受験とは無縁のエスカレーター方式。
And then Luna points out, でもレイちゃんの高校って so this small tsu followed by a te is sort of like putting things into quotes. But Rei-chan, your high school, 確か, if I recall correctly, 付属で, so 付属 means like it's all attached, it's adjunct. Basically, Rei's school, for those of you who don't remember, she goes to a private school, or basically, it's really hard to get into those things like when you're a little kid, but you test into them as a little kid. And oftentimes, like, being rich kind of helps you get into them. And then once you're in, you're in. You don't have to, like, continue taking tests to get to the high school portion or the junior high portion of the school. Some of them even go up to college, I think. I don't know. I don't know if Rei's does. So I translated that as, but isn't your school K through 12, Rei? So this is, again, one of those things where it's like, if I had translated this literally, like, but if I recall correctly, Rei, isn't your school adjunct? Like, that wouldn't really make sense to Western viewers. So, isn't your school K through 12? That paints a very clear picture in our heads. It's like, oh, it's all attached. Like, all the grades are together. There is no separate high school. Like, she's already in her high school. Usagi and Minako say, そうよ, that's right. 受験とは無縁. So, 無縁 means like no relation whatsoever. 受験とは, so no relation whatsoever to 受験, studying for entrance exams, or entrance exams really. No, エスカレーター方式. So 方式 is like the, so 方式 is like a type of something. So エスカレーター, escalator type. So she's on the escalator system, basically. You know, once you get on that bottom step of the escalator, you just stay on the escalator and you ride it all the way up to the top. You don't have to hop on another escalator or work really hard to get on another escalator. You're already set. So I had fun with this one. Again, I wanted to re-emphasize Rei is privileged and that they're kind of ripping on her for this. It's something that isn't necessarily going to come across in the translation otherwise because we don't have this necessarily as much, or it's not in the same way that it is in the Japanese school system. So I tried to keep in that snark, that tongue-in-cheek, that making fun of her for being rich and privileged. And I had them say, Her Highness's Escalator Academy doesn't make her test into high school. So that really gets to the whole point, the essence of what they're saying.
あら、失礼ね。みんなの苦しみは私の苦しみよ。
And then Rei says, あら、失礼ね. And that's very ojo-sama, like, style speech pattern. And Rei is an ojo-sama. It doesn't come across as much in the 90s anime because they've changed her character quite a bit from the manga. Like, they kind of kept intact that she's kind of an ojo-sama, but they don't really go into it or why. But it does come out in her speech pattern that she is ojo-sama, which is why it's really funny. Like, I think 2 episodes after this, when she and Sailor Neptune are, like, paired together, because they kind of both have that ojo-sama character, except Neptune is so much better at it than Rei is. Anyway, I digress. Ara is like, oh my, and like a very, like, oh, for those of you who don't know, ojo-sama is more like rich lady kind of speech pattern, or rich daughter. 失礼ね, like, oh, rude, oh, you jest, almost. So I said, oh my, what cheek. みんなの苦しみは私の苦しみよ. So, みんなの苦しみ, you guys' suffering is my suffering. Your pain is my pain too, ladies. I put that ladies in there like, oh, ha, 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 ha. Even though I am such a rich daughter who got on the escalator and I'm all right in high school, I didn't have to test into it. I completely sympathize. You know, it's that kind of mood going on here. And then Ami, the peacemaker.
とにかく高校生になったんだから自分の時間もいっぱい持てるわけだし一応バイトも OK だしね。
とにかく anyway, regardless, point being, 高校生になったんだから again, this da, she's explaining things. 高校生, high school students, になった, became high school students. So anyway, we've all become high school students. Therefore, So point being, since we're in high school now, 自分の時間もいっぱい持てるわけだし、so 自分の時間, 自分 means like oneself or myself or yourself, ourselves, personal. 時間 time, so personal time. も also いっぱい持てる can hold, can have a lot of personal time わけだし. It is the case that we can have we are able to have lots of personal time now. And then that dashi at the end, she's giving a reason for something, and there's more reasons beyond the one that she's saying. Like, among other good things about this, hey, now that we're in high school, there's many good things. One of those things is that, we have lots of time to ourselves now. And there are other things which I may or may not go into because I've used particle she at the end of my sentence. Anyway, she says, we'll be able to dedicate more time to ourselves. And then Mako follows it up with, 一応バイトも OK だしね. So she also used this dashi thing where she's like, oh, I'm listing another reason in this long list of reasons why it's a good thing that we're all in high school now. 一応 means like technically. バイトcomes from arubaito, which is a German word, Arbeit, which means, in German, it means work. So, baito, part-time job, mo is also okay, dashi. So, yeah, we can even work part-time if we want.
部活やりまくりのアイドルのオーディション受けまくり。そうよね。16歳ともなれば結婚だってできるし。はい。
And then Minako gives another thing that she's really excited about high school. Mo, like, oh man. Bukatsu yarimakuri. So bukatsu is after school clubs. In her case, she pretty much means volleyball, sports. Yarimakuri. So yaru is to do something. And then if you add makuri to the end of a verb, it's kind of like, I'm going to be doing this verb like all over the place. So she's like, I'm going to be doing after school clubs, volleyball, all over the place. And aidoru no audition ukemakuri. So this makuri again. Audition ukeru is to take, to attend an audition, to audition basically. In English we would just say to audition for something. You wouldn't say to attend an audition necessarily. But idol audition, so like auditioning for American Idol, if this were the aughts and if this were in America. That's kind of like what she would be saying there. But it's basically like auditioning, like singing auditions. Thinking about Aino Minako, she mostly wanted to be a singer. Aidoru in Japan, they are more than just singers. But it's just a lot cleaner in English to say singer. You can also translate that as idol. I think most people generally know Japanese idol culture. Although it kind of has a bad name. It's kind of tainted, so I don't know. I translate it as singer here. So, and I can do all the school sports and singing auditions. It's kind of like in our speech when we say, I want to do all the things. I want to do all the school sports and singing auditions. She's really excited about it. And then Usagi says, そうよね、16歳ともなれば. So, yeah, that's right. If you become, or if one becomes 16 years old, 結婚だってできるし. So she's giving yet another reason because she has the she at the end. So 結婚, marriage, だって, even marriage. できる, can do. So you can even get married when you're 16. And 16 is old enough to be legally married too. And then Minako says, hi, which is not, you could translate that as yeah. So this hi is a very sarcastic thing. It's like, yes, thank you. Like we totally wanted to hear you gush about marriage and Mamo-chan. So you can kind of translate that any way you want. It's just, she's being kind of sassy and sarcastic and like, yes, dear, we love you, Usagi, but please shut up. Anyway, that was part 1 of Watch Sailor Stars, Learn Japanese. Nothing really cliffhangery yet because we've got girls just being girls, but Chibiusa and Diana and Mamo-chan are about to show up and things are going to start happening. Thank you to all my Sailor Moon level patrons who support this series. You can join that tier if you want, well, to just basically vote for this series with your dollars, but also I send out a monthly Sailor Moon character song translation with a complete breakdown of what all of the words in the song mean and a translation of it, so you get a really in-depth analysis, kind of like these videos, but in written form of character songs. So sign up for that if that sounds like something you'd like, and I'll see you in the next episode of Watch Sailor Stars, Learn Japanese. 月の光は愛のメッセージ.